If you struggle with color mixing and you often end up with mud or muddy, yucky colors, believe me, you are not alone. While often it feels like a struggle you won't be able to overcome, I promise you, it is pretty simple once you understand one core principle. And no, it is not some mystical inbuilt wizarding powers that you either have or you don't have. By the end of this video, you will understand what mud is, the one principle that dictates whether you mix clean, vibrant colors or dull colors, and 3, some tactical, easy tips to avoid murky colors. But before we get going, hey, what's up? My name is Julian. I am a pro artist who takes a lifetime of learning how to paint and distills it down into bite-sized bits so you can paint more and paint better and feel like that real artist we both know that you have deep down inside. All right, let's get going with the lesson. Number 1, what is mud? I wanted to start off by talking about what mud even is because most people just gloss right over it. And if you don't really know what mud even is, you don't know how to avoid it. And I have a different take on it. All right, so there are 2 different types of mud. Number 1 is that nasty, ugly, disgusting, baby poop green, vomit brown, whatever you want to call it, ugly color. Or number 2 is an unintended color that looks murky or dull out of context. So you were aiming for a bright, vivid purple, but you got a dull purple instead. That dull purple feels muddy for this specific painting, but in the right context, in a shadow, for example, it would actually be a lovely color. All right, so now that you understand what the 2 different types of mud are, we quickly have to go over those tactical things that are easily and quickly going to improve your painting. So before we talk about that one core principle that I promise is going to change the game for you, I assume that you are using clean water or using a clean palette. None of this, I don't like wasting paint, or I don't want to clean off the patina. No, dirty palettes make dirty colors. Clean your palette. Number 3, if you are using watercolors, you are allowing each layer to dry before adding more paint. And number 4, you are not mixing more than 3 colors together. Just trust me. All right, now let's get into that one core principle I promised you. This next section is going to blow your mind. Quickly though, before we continue, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click that notification bell so I can help you become that painter you've always dreamed of. All right, let's go. All right, so let's dive into the core principle that is going to help you go from muddy mixes to clear and vibrant color. And that core principle is called color bias. Many folks think that the color wheel is simply split into warm colors and blue colors like this. Red, orange, and yellow are warm, and purple, blue, and green colors are cool. And while that is correct, each primary is also split into cool and warm colors. All right, so to understand this, let's look at a color wheel made with our own pigments. So most people think that a color wheel simply looks like this, where if you put a circle between all these, you would have red, yellow, and blue. But that's not actually true. What a color wheel is supposed to look like is more like this, where each primary is actually split between a warm and a cool color. So there are a few magical rare unicorns out there like the color cobalt, which we call unbiased, which means that it doesn't lean one way or the other. But that is not our focus for right now, so just don't worry about that in this video. All right, so what do I mean by cool or warm? Well, if there is a warm and a cool of each primary, a warm color means that it leans towards its warm neighbor on the color wheel, and a cool color means that it leans towards its cool neighbor on the color wheel. All right, so let's just look at these 2 reds. This red, although a little bit dirty, I admit, is a warm red, which means that it leans towards its warm neighbor on the color wheel, which is yellow. This red, on the other hand, is a cool red, which means that it leans towards its cool neighbor on the color wheel, which is blue. So this is true for each primary around the color wheel. So let's continue using red as an example. We're gonna clean this red up just a little bit. So I'm gonna put a quick paint swatch of these 2 reds here. So can you see the difference between these 2 reds? Comment below and let me know if you can tell the difference. I think you can see that this one looks more orange, and that's because a warm red leans yellow, and yellow and red generally make orange. Now I say generally because depending on whether you're mixing a warm or a cool of red and yellow, you'll get either a vivid or dull orange. More on that in a second. So this is a warm red, aka an orange red. And on the flip side, this red leans blue. And because blue and red generally make purple, this red looks more purple. So this is a cool red leaning towards blue, also called a purple blue. Can you see that? All right, now here is the trick, you guys. If you mix this cool red with a blue that also leans towards red, you'll get a lovely purple. Now let's mix this warm red with that same blue and let's see what we get. Do you see how much duller this purple is? Now let's test out one more color. Let's mix this warm red with a blue that leans away from red. Now do you see how much duller even this one is? So if you were aiming for a vivid purple and you got this one, you'd feel pretty good about yourself. And if you got these two, but you were aiming for a vivid purple, they would feel dull or muddy, but you can see that in and of themselves, the colors aren't ugly or bad. They would just be in the wrong context, and so they would feel muddy. Now this is how color bias informs how we mix colors. So why does this happen and how can you control it? Before we answer these two major questions, we need to take an ad break. Today's sponsor is myself. If you crave to be a prolific painter that creates beautiful art easily and joyfully, maybe you long to transfer those beautiful images from your mind or from a reference photo onto paper, then you have to understand color theory and color mixing. Color is the absolute foundation of painting, and if you don't understand it, you are going to be on the struggle bus for years. And I know this because I was a lifelong artist that was on the struggle bus for years trying to make something of my art, and I couldn't do it until I finally sat down to really understand color theory and color mixing. I don't want you to flounder in the world of chaos, which is why I put together the Color Mixing Lab, which is my color theory and color mixing course where I take you by the hand and I walk you step by step through everything that you need to know to go from frustrated mud maker to color mixing master. This course has produced hundreds of super happy students who now are able to go on and be happy hobbyists or professional painters. And that's because they understand their pigments and are able to use their palette to the fullest extent. No more confusion, no more frustration, just happy, easy painting. If you have been struggling with your colors, then I invite you to check out the link to the Color Mixing Lab below in the description. But if you just want to dip your toes in first, I totally understand, which is why I want to invite you to join me in my free color mixing workshop where I share 3 color mixing secrets that nobody is talking about. All right, so back to these 2 big questions. Okay, so why does this happen? Well, this happens because complementary colors, or colors across from each other on the color wheel, neutralize each other and cancel them out to make a duller mix. So in this first mix, both of these colors lean towards each other, and so you'll get a vivid purple. There are no complementary colors to neutralize each other out. And then if we look at the dullest one, the green in the blue that we used neutralizes the red because it's complementary, and the orange in the red we used is complementary to the blue, so that neutralizes itself out too. Okay, that answers our first big question. Why does that happen? When you mix across color biases, you're accidentally mixing in a bit of the color's complement, which neutralizes that color out. Isn't that cool? And on the flip side, when you mix colors that lean towards each other, they naturally want to become their shared secondary color. It's like a happy little family. And for the next question, how can you control it, is when everything really starts to change for you. In order to control your vivid and dull colors and your mixing in general, you have to be able to spot the color bias of your paints, no matter which paints you have. Because once you understand how a pigment leans and how it interacts with other colors, you can start controlling your mixes and intentionally make them either vivid or dull or somewhere in between. And that, my friend, is exactly what we do inside the Color Mixing Lab. I walk you through your primaries, your secondaries, your tertiaries, how to identify the bias of your paints, and like I said, no matter which paints you have. And we walk through multiple different exercises to walk you through how to get all of the different colors from the paints you have. Once you can see this, color mixing stops feeling like luck and starts feeling like play. And when color mixing feels like play, painting becomes easy and your paintings and your painting skills explode to the next level. If you finally want to take control of your color mixes, then I invite you to join me inside of the Color Mixing Lab, where I walk you through every single step. Okay, well with that, thank you so much for watching. If you really liked this video, then you might be interested in last week's video where we deep dive into cerulean versus ultramarine, which are the 2 blue colors you saw in this video. If you want to see that, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just click on it because it's coming up right now.